till I came here.
Man of Medan. Game's alright. It's not bad. It's fun to say though, Man of Medan. When I played this, it wasn't really planned. Like, I always had an interest, but it wasn't intentional. I played it for October for Halloween spooky month. And I figured it was a good game for that. Kind of sit back, relax, watch most of it. Sometimes you get in that mood for just like, hey, maybe I don't want to play in battle and all these things. But I'm so mixed on this game because I played it only for Spooky Month. It was something I was always interested in and that I liked watching, but it was one of those games that playing it's kind of a whole nother thing. I've been more open to more games lately, but I don't know, something about it always just looked off. The way people moved around, the way they talked, the writing, the only good thing I ever saw from it was the graphics. Other than that, it's like, you know, what's the point of moving around at all? It's like the Telltale games. I know it's just trying to really focus on the story part of it, and in order for it to kind of be a game, you do get to move around a little bit, but it's just this weird mix of like visual novel slash point and click. I don't even know. So I played it out of spite. I don't know if that's the right word, but I played it because it was something to play. And it was about exactly what I expected. It was like kind of janky, wonky. The parts I liked about it was just watching. I could have honestly cared less for moving around, and you know, they walk slow and it's just, the whole game is just awkward. The way you pick up stuff and flip it around and this and that and clues and premonitions and pictures and the narrator and the fourth person breaking the fourth wall, whatever it's called. The whole game's just weird. Like the whole series, even the, I don't even know what language the devs speak or where they're from, but I don't know. I like that this game exists. I like that it's a good counterpart to the Telltale games and something else and something different and something a little bit more less cartoony and less comic book style and drawings and sketches and cell shading, and it's legitimate graphics that look really good, especially next gen. You know, the stories are very generic. They've been done, but not in this way. I don't know. These are interesting games because what it is exactly that they do, they are the best at. But that doesn't mean that the game itself is actually like so good or something. Like I left this game kind of like, yeah, that's cool. Something to play. I didn't have too much expectation. I wasn't like super interested in it. But I always knew about it. Like, it's a big popular quality AAA, almost indie-like title. But it was weird at first because I was so used to The Walking Dead from Telltale and The Wolf Among Us I knew about. I don't know if I played it at the time, but You know, and then this kind of came along. I remember when these games first came out, this Dark Pictures Anthology. And I just thought it was like the weirdest, newest, coolest, strangest, oddest, weirdest, wackiest thing. Like there's like a slight sense of humor, everyone looks very uncanny. They're smiling way too much, they say weird things. This whole game is a trip. I don't know if that's intentional or like... And I kind of get it, like, hey, it's not a movie, it's trying to be, it's a game, it's this weird hybrid. But it really does remind me of like a bad B movie. Which, once again, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but... That's the thing though, is some people like B movies. I can take them or leave them. I prefer probably something better, but I don't mind them either. I mean, they're a good watch. But I don't know if I can say that this game was a good play. Because normally the games I stick to is like, hey, I want to actually walk around, do stuff, do things, battle, cutscenes, combat, whatever, like just games in general. And this one is just kind of like, yeah, you sit back most of the time, you wander around, touch things, and that's about it. There's really not much else to it. Like, I even had a problem, like, even the intro song is weird, and... I'll give this game some credit, though, like, whatever it is that it's trying to do, it does it well. You know, I think it's one of those easy games to, like... It's not very hard to give it a lot of crap, but... You know, it's there and it's available, and for those who want to play it or are in the mood, there you go. As far as scary games go, we don't have a whole lot of big AAA quality titles like that, so it does kind of fit into that whole category. Like, if you like horror games at all, if this definitely fits in there. You know, and if someone only plays horror games, they probably would have played this by now, and if they haven't, I don't know why they're sitting on it, but... Because, like, hey man, there's a lot of horror games out there that are pretty bad. Like, you walk around, you get lost, it's confusing, all the psychological stuff, very trippy, weird. There's like a lot going on. At least the good ones that I've played. Sometimes that's an unfortunate bad side of it, is that those games are just kind of random and all over the place, messy. But this one tries and somewhat succeeds to try to be this very directional, organized kind of sequence of events, and there is the whole choice making that is a big part of it. But just like Telltale games, this is kind of divided up in into weird sections where 1/3 of it is cutscenes, 1/3 of it is walking around, and 1/3 of it is making choice decisions. So, you know, like, hey, you're chilling 1 minute, next thing you know, you're walking around, messing around. I'm not really into point-and-click games. And that's not what this doesn't emphasize that probably as much as the Telltale games. Like, it definitely tries to be a lot more immersive, and I don't know, all these things, like, it's not a hard thing to get into. You have some dim lights on. Then again, if it's spooky season, an even better time to play this, if anything. It gives you a good excuse. I don't know. This game, it's definitely not something I've normally played, and I did go a little bit out of my comfort zone, which isn't a bad thing to do sometimes, but I don't know. Cutscenes are fine.
Alrighty, Buster. We better mosey on back to the ship.
Whoa. Stop the presses.
What?
Looks like old Charlie Charming's got a little business to attend to.
I think it's one of those games that during playing it, I mean, there was a part of me that was waiting for it to be over, but then there was a part of me that was like, hey, this is actually kind of nice for a change. I don't gotta be like constantly doing something. Sometimes I just want to sit there. Like, I can still play something, but just kind of watch more. And you can't really beat that, because it's not a bad way to go. If visual novels weren't as flat as they are, I'd probably play more of those. Even though those are a lot of reading yourself and a lot of text and stuff. So this is kind of one of those nice middle grounds of like, hey, it's not a full-fledged 3D complete exploration, open world, blah blah blah, A to B game. But it's just something to kind of put on, and like anyone can enjoy it, anyone can get into it. It's not that hard. You just kind of... I mean, the decision-making part's the best part, just like in Walking Dead. Because, you know, whether you're showing it off to other people, or someone's with you, or you're just yourself even, you know, it really lets you explore, like, what... If I was this person, what would I say? What would I do? Really shows a lot about yourself. And obviously, like, I don't replay stuff, really. I'm not trying to look for every single outcome, and if I don't save everybody, fine, I'm gonna try. I don't feel like that's as relevant here as in Walking Dead, for example, but it's so easy to compare this to Walking Dead because there's really not much else. It's like Xbox and PlayStation. There's this and that. That's it. And then there's kind of, I guess, whatever else would be sitting out there, but it's like a whole genre of its own. I don't really know what you'd call it specifically, but it really does fill the shoes of, like, if there's gonna be a game like this out there, what would it be? And this is what we have. Yeah, it has, it's no surprise it has Bobby from X-Men on it. I always enjoy seeing him. I don't know, I like the decisions they made because they choose like a really popular, well, semi-popular actor who kind of is the face of the game. And it's interesting. They definitely found a way to kind of give you a hook. It's kind of like how I see DVD, like, you know, without the license killers, DVD would just be some generic blah 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 game. So, I don't know, there's some good points here, like, there's definitely some bad ones. But you got, you know, Bobby, you got good graphics, a story, whether it's actually good or not. Something different than what people might normally play, depending on who you are. But yeah, it's also kind of just weird. It's like the only best word to describe this whole game is just weird. You know, but some people like that, so... You know, those people that only watch, like, Sharknado and all that stuff, this is exactly down their alley. Yeah, what else? I mean, it was about a... It's a ghost ship game. I love the movie Ghost Ship. I love haunted ships, the Queen Mary. I love paranormal, ghosts, spirits. This is definitely something I would for sure play, like, just because of that alone. That's why I like this, because I put in an effort to be like, hey, we're gonna give you something a little kind of bleh, but it's gonna be good because of this and that, and this is what people like. They're really good at narrowing down and focusing on like these kind of bigger picture things and like, you know, hauntings, and it's been around forever. And between the 4 games, I think they started out really strong with Man of Medan because, you know, you got your teenagers, you got your doing something they shouldn't do, getting into trouble. It's nothing to really spoil or take away or whatever, because it's like, dude, we've all seen this 100 times. The only difference here is that it isn't in a video game. And, you know, by the end of it, whether you actually like it or not, I guess either way doesn't really matter, because really it's kind of just whatever, but it's that exact feeling you would get out of watching a B movie. It's kind of like, okay, well, you know, that was cool for 2 hours, but whatever. And this game's not super long, it's not short, it's just like a nice little snack. It's like, hey man, I'm hungry, but I don't want to eat some food. Just have like a candy bar or something. Something quick and easy and simple and basic and effective, and it works. But yeah, it was a good experience. It was fine. Definitely wasn't something that blew me away or anything, but for what it was okay. But yeah, there's really not much to it. Like, it's hard to compare it to much of anything. It's so similar, but so different to most other things you could possibly think of in so many different ways. But yeah, between this and the rest of the games, it's hard to play this and not play the other ones. Like, you kind of have to play all 4 of them. It's just like a rule. Well, this was a great first entry. I think this is actually the strongest one, and yeah, that might be because I played it first, whatever, but you know, once you can actually really compare them too, it's like one of those things where there is some good jump scares. Like, I think they depended on that a little too much, which, you know, it happens. But it was just creepy. Some of it was creepy. Like, some of it was a little goofy, and like, you know, I don't really get scared that easily or whatever, but there was some moments where I was like, I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it. There was some parts where I was just like, God damn. Because you're in a dark ship, you can't see shit. The dark anthology games, these games are all very dark, like, that's kind of the whole point. I usually only have about this much lighting in here. Minus that back there, but like a black light, then these 2 lights here, and my monitor, my computer screen, whatever. But I think the other this game scared me so good because so much of it is just kind of like, you know, stupid. But those couple ones, like, those are good. Those are like those scenes in some movies where, like, that shit is nightmare fuel. Like, the kind of stuff that scared me as like a kid, that's, yeah. Gameplay was okay.
What the hell?
Yeah, those moments where there's only one other game that had as good scares as this one did, Visage. Just those creepy, like, peripheral vision, kind of... just something you'd pass by really quick. It's hard to explain what kind of thing I'm thinking of without, like, giving it away or something, but... something you least expect. Something, basically, that's not like a jump scare, boo. Because that doesn't work on me. It's loud, sure, it might startle me a bit, but... oh, man. The scares alone is what sold me on the game, because this was fairly early in, like the first 2-3 hours. I mean, I don't know. But man, I'll never forget it. Oh god, just I'm like picturing it in my head and it's just creeping me out. Creepy, that really is what it was. It was just like... yeah, it reminds me of Visage when I'm really trying not to describe it too much, but I don't know, it's like this one time where I was like a lot younger, and this is just an example. It's just the sheer terror of like seeing something just instantly that you just should not see. Like when I was younger, I saw like this exorcist girl, and it was in this big new house too that we moved into. I barely knew the guy. And it was a nice house too. It wasn't like creepy, but there's this like exorcist girl in the ceiling, the top ceiling, the corner. I don't remember if it was just Halloween at the time or what. I couldn't. I was probably in middle school or high school, but I'd probably say more middle, to be honest. But out of the few things I've ever seen like that, like what I saw in this game was literally just as terrifying. It was like, just like, oh god, I should not have seen that. just no. It's the things you think about that are hiding in the dark, in the bathroom, in the tub, behind the shower curtain, you know, in the closet, down a dark hallway, just like, ugh. There's not a lot of things that can scare me, but the few things that do, man, wow. And yeah, good job on Medan for that. I played a few horror indie games, you know, in the past few years or whatever, that there was definitely some moments for sure between like various games, but I think the difference here was that, you know, you're just watching, la la la, but it had those moments when you play an indie horror game and you're expecting those things. It's kind of like, you know, okay, can it be done well? It has to be like, it has to be just like the perfect angle and the lighting, and I'm really picky about my scares. It has to like convince me and like be realistic and possible, and like, because I believe in a lot of that stuff. I really do. And you know, I want like a solid, good quality. But man, they nailed it. Like 90% of the scares, I don't really, they're not good. But man, that like 10%ish, 5-10%, beautiful. Yeah, I enjoyed the crew, the cast, or the characters, I don't, whatever you want to call them. You know, I thought they were all very diverse, and which they should be. That's how these things go. They all had their qualities and their characteristics and personalities, and of course the only one I was kind of biased towards was Bobby, but what's nice about what else they've done is they actually like Bobby's on the cover of the game. It's not really like, you know, and Medan, the compass, there's a lot that gives it away of what it is that it's trying to do and where it's going and what it is, but whatever. I try not to like, it's hard because there's not much to this game really. I mean, a lot of it takes place in one place. It's kind of, but yeah, it's pretty stale and pretty flat. Like I kind of said earlier, like their lines, their dialogue, their reactions. But it's good. It's just like watching a CG bad horror movie, basically. I guess another good movie to compare it to as well is Triangle. I mean, it's scary, like being out in the sea, in the middle of nowhere, the ocean, the water, boats. Ugh, it's just creepy, man. Like you have nowhere to go. You're fucked. You're not on land. You're screwed, man. I mean, you can argue some of these like ocean-based horror games, movies, or just the settings alone are probably the scariest. Maybe I would even maybe say space as well. Just something where it's not typical. You're not on land. You don't have anywhere to escape to. Like that's it. You could disappear, dude, and you're done. Yeah, there's some fourth wall, a lot of eye contact, which you don't see too often, huh? In some certain sections, yeah, I think I played it pretty well too. Like I felt good about the decisions I made and the choices, and I think a lot of, you know, depending on who it is, their natural reactions and choices and decisions, whether it saves everybody or not, I think they were still good things to make, good calls, good judgment. You know, it's a mix between what it is that you would do or what it is that you've learned from watching movies and stuff. Like, you know, this is one of those outlets where you really do get to kind of like express that. So it's probably the biggest upside. Just having that kind of freedom of like somewhat control and putting yourself in that situation. It's interesting. It's like a horror. It's a horror simulator, literally. Like, if this was me, as real as this looks in real life, and people and things, and it's believable and pretty possible. It's not just some wacky haunted house horror game, you know. Yeah. Man of Medan. Spooky.